Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Snow-ries. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. Are you all bundled up, Joe? Do you have the furnace running? Are you wearing the old man sweater? Do you have your gloves ready?
I'm feeling three-dimensional.
Because tonight is a special night in Minnesota. It's a night that we wait for months for. This is a night that goes down legends. Legends will be made tonight.
Oh, you're going to a Comic-Con again. Holy cow, I never thought I'd live to see the day.
No, tonight's the first night it's going to snow in Minnesota.
No, that's not actually true, remember. It snowed last January, so...
No, for this season.
Oh, sure.
For this season.
Hey, no, I'm not going to sit here and listen to you bundle time into your cute little ways of dealing with it. I'm sorry. That's just horse and buggy thinking.
It's the first winter snow.
I'm impartial to the fugue.
It's the first winter snow.
You could see me now, I'd be looking very bored.
You have to go outside and catch snowflakes on your tongue.
Nope, you're not allowed to do that. Because you're not from Minnesota. These are our snowflakes. You want snowflakes, you go back home and have your own industrial waste snowflakes.
I have lived in Minnesota longer than I lived in Illinois. I have now been here, as of this week, I have been here 30 years.
Sounds
30
like
goddamn years. That means the MNCBA, whatever they're calling it now, is 30 years old next year. It means that Paisley Park is 30 years old, because I moved here for Paisley Park. Yeah, the Simpsons are about to turn 30, if that don't make you feel old. One other thing about the Simpsons. At my full-time job, one of the clients we're getting is a veterinary hospital. So we will be doing their benefits. And I'm a terrible person because whenever they talk about, the vets and what they do there, the scene from The Simpsons pops into my head of when the hamster, they've got the defibrillator paddles and they're trying to revive the hamster, and the hamster, stays dead, and the vet goes, "This is a part of the job I hate the most." He picks it up, throws it in the garbage. I can't tell that at work because they would be a little sensitive. But I can tell it here because our listeners are not sensitive. We have the best listeners ever.
We do. As a matter of fact, you're talking 30. I should mention, of course, the MSP Comic-Con 2018 will be on May 19th and 20th at the grandstand, because it's the grandest stand of them all. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because, as you know, you're talking about open enrollment season at work, which always is bothersome because our open enrollment for federal government starts November 1st. So if you have, like in my case, we got, spouse her open enrollments now, but I won't know what mine is until next month, so we really can't figure out what the good deal is. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is taxes. You owe taxes. You owe lots and lots of taxes because you have been very, very squandersome with your money. Here's your chance to lower your tax bill. Give me a quick yell, either through the podcast thing coming up later, or maybe my personal email, or through the MCBA Facebook page. And if you want to donate something for the 2017 tax season and deduct it on those taxes, hey, let's go ahead and do it. Comics, toys, collectibles, Winkle rotor engine parts, ShamWows, tube socks. As long as it's new, you can donate it, and we'll use it at our charity booth that, of course, we'll have up at MCBA Comic Con 2018. You can always donate, of course, but for tax season, you could do it now. Get a hold of me somehow, and we'll figure out how to get it to me, and then I'll get you the tax form back at you.
Taxes? I got a nephew who lives in Texas.
No, you don't.
Austin, Texas.
Nope. That's Austin, Minnesota. That's where they make Spam.
We need to go there soon.
It'll always be there.
No, don't say that. Things go away, Joe.
Spam never goes away. Just ask people who live in Hawaii.
Yeah, but it's like Mr. T. Remember when Mr. T did that signing at the mall, and we were late and we missed it, and we asked the guard if Mr. T would come back, and he said he didn't know?
No, that was you.
He didn't know.
I didn't go. I saw a T at one of Capital City show.
Oh, yeah. Remember when we met Bobby Heenan?
I got the T.
Yeah, that was great.
He told you in jail to go get a room. Hey, why don't these two guys go get a room? He asked me, hey, I was one of the jabronis in the audience. Could you sign the book to Jabroni Joe? Jabroni, I don't even know how to spell it. And I looked at him and just said, J-O-E. He looked at me and said, kid, I'm telling the jokes here. That was a fun night. Speaking of fun nights, I tried to get a hold of you, when was it? Was it Saturday or Friday? Saturday, because all of a sudden I found myself home and alone. Everybody had abandoned me and left, and I thought, well, if Cory's not working as he's wont to do, I thought maybe we'd get together. But by the time we got together, it was in this age of instant communication, it was too late. I was busy doing terrible things to a dog with a fork, and Cory was watching a brand new Blu-ray.
I thought your daughter took your truck and stranded you.
Yeah, but it's much more interesting my way.
Actually, it'd be much more interesting if you were taking the bunny for a walk.
Actually, it'd be much more interesting if you went to Target and bought the Blu-ray and you would have got the exclusive comic book that came with it. Because when I went, they were already sold out.
I actually got it off Amazon, so it was delivered the day that it showed up at Target, too. I came home and there it was.
You want all these retailers to go out of business.
Yes.
Although I tell you, I am kind of keen to the idea of, I want it now, and then a drone comes right on my doorstep.
I will say this, the Amazon key, have you heard of the Amazon key, Joe?
Yes, that's just another thing to be hacked by the Chinese.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want Amazon coming in my house. Because the first thing they'd do is say, your place is a mess, you need to clean up. And then they'd look at all the omnibuses, omnibuy, and say, you're missing two.
Don't take that omnibuy, it's a load-bearing.
But I did watch the Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. And of course, I've been wanting to
love the fact that it opened with that theme.
Yes. I've been wanting to talk about this since it came out, but somebody doesn't go to movie theaters anymore.
Yeah.
It
was more fun at home.
Oh, I disagree. I think it would have been more fun on the big screen because when you were there, especially when you get to like big action scenes with like the part where the ship starts falling apart, and Spider-Man's trying to save it and keep it together. Although I do got to admit, towards the end when they did the big fight, the big showdown with the Vulture, that there was too many explosions and too many, where the hell is everybody? Because it was
stuff really like that does work better on on a TV screen.
Yeah, because you can kind of follow it. Because half the time I was like, boom, something blew up, and I'm like, okay, where did either one of the characters I'm supposed to be following go? But
let's spoil the hell out of this movie, Joe.
Considering it's been out in the theater and you could have had it, how many days ago did you watch this?
I watched it Saturday, so it was 4 days after it was delivered to my house.
We're talking a whole week and 2 days since the podcast drop and the DVD drop. So we're talking, if you haven't figured it out by now, it's a you problem. It's
As much as I love the first two Spider-Man movies, this one is becoming my favorite because we get teenage Spider-Man.
Yes.
We only got a hint of teenage Spider-Man in the first movie in 2002. And while it was fun, and those movies were great, and they kind of opened the door to a lot of Marvel stuff, because the X-Men, Blade showed that you could make a comic book movie that made money. Then the X-Men showed that Marvel really kind of, could do it. But Spider-Man was, in a lot of ways, the one that kicked off the latest boom. And Spider-Man Homecoming was a lot of fun. I think it used the Marvel Universe well. And it had humor It had pathos. It had the creepiest, scariest segment in any superhero movie I've ever seen.
Which one?
When Michael Keaton is driving Peter Parker and Liz to the homecoming dance.
And they both realize
yes.
they're sitting in the car with their nemesis.
Yes. And just the way that tension built and built.
Now, I guess
and
that
built.
about
that was
second
so good.
Before he opened the door, because it was something about the music. As Peter Parker was walking up the door to the prom date, I said, oh, it's going to be Michael Keaton's the dad. Bam, sure enough it was. And it didn't take away from it, but it was just kind of like the music kind of propelled me forward. If they hadn't done the music the way they did, I think I probably wouldn't have thought that, because it was just like something's going to, and your brain's just clicking because you're already on edge, because, things were going too well. I thought the same thing. I thought it was a fantastic movie. You got a Spider-Man who enjoys being Spider-Man. He doesn't have the, I cannot be with her because I am Spider-Man. Not to mention a very hot Aunt May. I mean, we've been growing up with the old, half heart attack Aunt May for going on 50-some years. I mean, and now we've got sorry, I dropped my screwdriver. Anyways, there were a couple things that I had to stop and go, really? And the first one, of course, was the old, when Tony Stark lowers the boom on Spider-Man and takes everything away and chews him out because he blew this up and blah, blah, blah. All I could help but think is like, if Spider-Man hadn't been there, that ship would have sank. And by the time Iron Man got there, he would have seen nothing but a puddle. Waves on the Hudson.
Oh,
so
no,
I thought,
the way he saw it was, if Spider-Man wouldn't have been there, the FBI would have taken the bad guys down.
And, you could argue that, too, because look at how bad the bad guys blew up the ship, which is
right.
Spider-Man. Do you think they would have just, the FBI's got us? No, they probably would have killed a bunch of FBI guys and gotten away anyways. So, but again, that's part of the,
by the premise, by the bit.
Yeah, and again, I didn't buy the bit because I thought Tony Stark was being an asshole.
Well, of course.
The biggest...
Tony Stark's always an asshole.
The biggest thing that I thought had made my head go, okay, so we're talking about that scene where, and it was wonderful. Michael Keaton realizes he's talking to Spider-Man, and of course Spider-Man realizes who he's talking to the whole time. The daughter steps out. I can't remember what the daughter, Gwen, what was the good daughter, Gwen?
No, it was Liz.
Liz, okay. Because I want to say Mary Jane, but that's not who Mary Jane is in this movie.
Nope, Mary
Steps
Jane.
out.
MJ is the girl who's sketching stuff.
He gives a cryptic comment to Peter, and then, of course, Peter runs out the back door, and bam, the shocker's waiting for him. And I'm like, that was the only part of the movie that I had to stop and kind of go, wait a minute. How the hell did they know to be in back of the school? There was virtually no time by the time Peter got let off and he come running out the back door that these guys could have gotten there. There was no time that Michael Keaton could have called these guys and say, hey, get to the back of the school, Spider-Man's coming out. There was no time. There's no reason for them to be there. That was about the only part of the movie that I had to stop. I'll accept okay, Tony Stark was an asshole. He's chewing out Peter Parker from his viewpoint, even though we know Peter, a.k.a. Spider-Man, saved the day. Had there been a quick phone call, okay, guys, just meet me at the thing. I'll contact you if anything comes up. Or maybe that would have foreshadowed too much. I don't know. But to me, that was just too much coincidence. I mean, it didn't stop from the action scenes at all, but it just kind of, I don't know. It just struck me as, no, I don't buy a bunch of the supervillains when they're going out to a job, just happen to be hanging out the back door of the school, considering 30 seconds earlier he just ran away from the dad. My rant. What do you think?
I was too propelled by the narrative to even think about that. It was, obviously, the Vulture called him. And it was one of those where it's like Star Wars in that the movie itself is so well done and so fun, you don't think about the plot holes till much later.
This one just hit me right away.
Yeah, with Star Wars, it wasn't till, like, a few days later that I went, wait a minute, 12 parsecs?
Yeah.
Or, other big plot holes and stuff like that. Or, the Indiana Jones. Let's go back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, Joe. Indiana Jones had nothing to do with how the bad guys got beat in the end. Nothing.
No.
He was tied up. Had nothing to do with it. Your hero did nothing to stop the bad guy.
And how did he know not to look?
Yeah. But you don't think about that because you're just having too much fun watching the movie. And that, in my mind, is how a good movie maker can do it. Whereas, if you're a clumsy movie maker or the movie's slow and dull, that stuff you're going to have way too much time to think about.
JLA, we're looking at you.
But I really enjoyed it. I hate to say it, but I have yet to watch a Marvel movie that I haven't just loved. And
yeah, I'll give you that.
And I'm glad that I don't pay attention to people online anymore because they've been wrong about everything this year. Spider-Man was a lot of fun. But the people are like, well, Tony Stark was a dick.
Yeah.
Have you watched any other movie? Tony Stark is always a dick. He's an arrogant asshole who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
And until they get a Fantastic Four movie right, he probably is.
This Star Trek Discovery. Oh, I don't like it because well, you're wrong because the first two episodes is setup. The pilot is the third episode.
You can't be talking about, and see, that's where they're wrong because if you can only, and first of all, they fucked me on being able to watch the first episode. But then if you got to pay to see the next two, you're saying, pilot's third episode. Well, a lot of people didn't even bother buying it. Or they're just waiting, or they'll do the illegal downloads or whatever.
It was an homage, Joe. What was the third episode of the original Star Trek?
Hell if I know. I wasn't alive then.
It was the pilot. It was the one where they go through the barrier. The first episode was the man trap, the salt monster.
We started with a monster, and we really did bad.
Yeah. Spider-Man Homecoming was a lot of fun. I like Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they handled it perfectly, in my mind. Of course,
I've seen one thing that kind of made me wonder is that, and again, I've only seen it once, so I don't know if it's true, where Sony's like, now that we have a success, we're going to take Spider-Man back out of the Marvel Universe. Really?
No, because they've already announced that Spider-Man's involved in the Avengers movies, and then after that is the
certain amount of time that they can use them, and they're already looking forward to doing it out on their own, and I'm thinking, that's probably stupid. You should probably you don't have to, be in the universe every single time, but eventually you're going to hit that curse of, X-Men, Spider-Man that are outside the Marvel Universe, where it just kind of, you try to do it without, and it's not going to work. So just stick with what you got.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on who they put in charge of it, too. But then again, I like the two Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield.
Never saw them.
I do think the second one was about a half hour too long, and they should have just ended it with the villain they had rather than, and now let's squeeze in the Green Goblin.
More villain, yay.
That's one of the problems that before the Marvel movies, superhero movies had. It's like, okay, the first one we're going to have one villain. Second one we're going to have two. And by the third movie we're going to have 5. And one of the things in the Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield, they were setting up a Sinister Six movie. They did the same thing in this movie. They're setting up the Sinister Six, but they're doing it subtly the way they did, all the other stuff they set up at Marvel. They don't come right out and tell you. It's if you're a fan of Marvel, you go, oh, I know that name. Which is kind of what they should do. But big thumbs up from me. Big thumbs up.
I give it a thumbs up,
too. It's a buy. Buy that DVD, buy that Blu-ray. You're going to watch it.
Unfortunately, I'm on a how do you say it? Embargo for buying things until after Christmas.
Oh. I don't have to worry about that. You know why, Joe? No one ever gets me what I really want.
Well, no, they give you pie.
I want the power to decide who lives and dies.
Yeah, but I don't trust you with that. You'd be the first one gone.
I suppose. Now, you told me you have a tale from the shop. Now, I know.
The shop.
This is the 25th anniversary of the death of Superman.
And it's feeling very super, too. And it's funny.
How's it make you feel when I tell you that? 25 years ago, you opened your shop. 30 years ago, I moved here.
November 1994. And by the time this here podcast drops, it would be kind of that same week, because that was the week that Superman died when we took over.
Yep.
But what I found,
as
I'm digging through my vast accumulation of stuff, or I suppose you could say not so vast accumulation, I found one of my here newsletters.
Really?
And what it is back then, this is, again, folks, this is pre-internet, everything. We got information from Wizard. We got information from Comic Buyer's Guide. We got real news from Comics Journal. I don't even remember if Marvel Age was being published. So, it wasn't like now where, I can just Google what I need to know and find out if it's fake or not. For example, like right now, I'm got from comicbook.com/marvel/2017/10/20/Avenger-Tower-Marvel.Netflix-TV. Jeff Loeb explains why Marvel TV never shows the Avengers Tower. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know why. I think they're just cheap. But anyway,
I don't care.
No, that's the type of fanboy geek that you would care about. Because in the comic book, if they flew around, New York and they never showed the Baxter Building or anything like that, it's just kind of fun little Easter eggs for those of us that actually pay attention and stuff. Actually, the answer is mostly perspective, because if these guys are supposed to be like Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're all like ground level people, but that's a different subject. So we're going to go back. What I tried to do it monthly, and it actually got to be too much, but I had a program that I'd chug along on my XT, and I would make myself a newsletter, and then I would go to Kinko's and have it published. And this was pretty much just, it was either cut and paste. I mean, I'd get like a page, and then I'd get another page set, and I might insert some pictures, real cut and paste type stuff. But everything was done with actual paper, and then I'd load them up, and I'd go to Kinko's and say, okay, I want these in this order, make a newsletter, fold it in half. I make enough to not only give to, I probably, 94, probably had about 200 subscribers, so I'd make about 250, and some I'd give away. But I thought I'd just sit down and I'd kind of read, because this will actually kind of give you an idea of what was going on at Hot Comics and also what was going on in the comic world at large. So, Cory, let's take. Do we have a Wayback Machine or Wayne's World?
No, but let's just turn back to 1994. Grunge was still popular. I was wearing a lot of flannel.
November?
I still wasn't wearing vests yet. That started in 95.
Uh-oh. So you weren't even best dressed yet.
No, I would wear suits, because when I worked at that job, remember, I had to wear it had to be a suit. But it wasn't until 95 that I bought my first vest. Bought it at Dayton's. Wow, they don't exist anymore either.
Do they? No. So now that we've got
The Simpsons were a popular TV show.
Yes, and actually fun.
Football was the #1 show on television. Nothing's changed, has it?
No, nobody's watching football really, because it's on cable only.
No. football was the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 primetime TV shows this last week.
So take that, all you kneelers.
So what was the shop like in '94? This was
the smaller shop. It was 1,000.
Now was
It might have been 800 still square feet. I don't know if this is when I took over the. There was like a little place that jutted out. That was actually the office of the video store next door. Eventually,
was the video store still there? I wonder.
I believe it was, because they didn't disappear until a little bit later, and that's when I talked to Ron, who owned the hobby shop that sold models and that. They moved over. I figured it was kind of a neat mix to have comic books and models right next to each other. And in reality, well, it worked okay, but what happened was the model business, and when we talk about model, I'm talking about like you get that plastic kit and you get glue and paint and decals and you put it all together.
Glue.
Oh yeah, I remember that back in the 70s doing that. You get that nice lemon scented glue and you, oh wait, do not inhale. Yeah, but why'd they make it lemon scent? Nowadays I think you got to sign your firstborn to get anything like that. But the model business kind of died because you'd have places like Walmart and Toys R Us fighting each other to race to the bottom. And funny thing is, you go to most of these places and they don't even carry models anymore. The models are now places of like Hobby Hub. And actually, I think it's a chain of stores, Hobby Center. It's a couple in town where they deal with like trains and model kits and things like that. But they're eventually their business just kind of disappeared. What kept them going was that one of the owners, Ron, he actually made resin pieces for models. You want a pair of fuzzy dice to customize your model car? Well, you couldn't find them, so he would make them for you. Matter of fact, there was a lot of times I would take when I opened up a comic box. On the bottom of the box, there was always the box, the flaps, and then even it out, they would put a little thin piece of cardboard so that when I got the comics, I wouldn't have to return half of them because they'd all been folded because of the crease-making flap on the bottom. So I'd save these little cardboard insets, and then I'd give them to him because he'd use them to make the molds he needed to for the cars, or if you wanted a buxom Dolly Parton-type figure posing against your Model T car, things like that. One of these days, I'll tell the story about one of our guys made a Hot Comics NASCAR thing, because I think NASCAR was going pretty hot too. So I remember, watching it with Dana. That was about the only thing they had on at night besides bad cartoons and that until we got cable. I could watch the 24-hour news on Channel 5, or I could watch, really trunciated sitcoms on Channel 11, or I could watch the rerun of NASCAR. So I watched the rerun of NASCAR. So once I got my hand on this, I would put it one in everybody's slot, and then I could actually watch, because if they didn't come in a month, they'd be this piece of yellow paper in this month sitting out. And there was a lot going on here, so I'll just jump in and read. Cory, just jump in wherever you can and wherever you think something's relevant. It starts. Hot Changes, a newsletter for subscribers at Hot Comics St. Paul, which is interesting because we had dropped the East-West. Welcome to an issue of the Hot Comic News. For those of you who have never received one before, this newsletter is for subscribers of Hot Comics St. Paul. It was very exclusive. Comes out monthly, the way Pitt comes out monthly.
Pitt was Dale Keown's book from Image that made Rob Liefeld look prompt.
Timely, yep. The purpose of this letter is to let you know what's going on at Hot Comics and comics in general. A lot of things have happened since the last newsletter came out in April. The most important, Pat leaves Hot Comics. This was the time when, and Pat and I talked about it on our Solo Joe podcast, where Pat decided to call it quits and throw in the towel. I'll just read what I wrote here. Pat Gruber, my friend and partner who helped start Hot Comics East, decided to leave Hot Comics. As of September 1st, Joe Ryder, that's me, is now the sole owner of Hot Comics St. Paul. The main reason for Pat's departure is time. He works 60 hours a week at FBS, which I think is U.S. Bank now. That would have been First Bank System.
Yep.
Anyways, FBS Leasing, where I hear he forecloses on old ladies' homes. Then he would put in 20 hours at Hot Comics, which, with much regret, he decided to stick with the old ladies. Pat still buys his comics here and will sub for me when needed. He'll also continue to do comic conventions. I will miss having Pat around and wish him luck in the future.
He was wished well in his future endeavors.
It was. And, of course, one of the things, and we talk about it in the Solo Joe, is Pat and I actually, when we bought the shop, had an out clause. So that if one or the other decided not to do it, we had a way of taking care of it. And you can go listen to the Solo Joe, but Pat and I initially talked about just selling the comic shop back to Brian and Dan. And of course, they lowballed us, really lowballed us. And then after we decided it wasn't going to work,
guys.
We inactivated the clause in our partnership agreement where it said that I would pay Pat over a certain amount of months, including whatever interest he deemed, and then he also got X amount of credit until it was paid off. So we actually had a partnership agreement ready to go to break in case it happened. However, he wasn't the only one that left.
So that's like a prenup.
It is, actually, and it's very advisable if you are getting into a partnership with someone, because how many partnerships have you heard of where things have gone bad?
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, well, that was something different. But
McCartney and Lennon.
Dave leaves Hot Comics.
Dave?
Dave Storberg is also leaving. Dave has gotten a job at Best Buy Maplewood. Dave kind of came with the shop when Pat and I bought it. It was only natural we hired him when the opportunity arose, i.e. he turned 16. I am deeply saddened that Hot Comics is losing Dave. He will not be replaced. I wish Dave all the luck in the world.
And Jess was so furious that he left.
Yeah.
That he mocked him in the mini-comic he was doing.
Yeah. The crazy,
in a story that no one understood.
Yeah. Dave got to the point where he was, I remember talking with him, he didn't like being left alone in the store, and it was kind of like, well, that was kind of the purpose of having you as an employee. It was great because he was like right across the street. So when Dana was on the way, I was like, Dave, I need you to watch your store, right? Yeah, Chris is in labor. Oh, okay. Don't tell anybody. I think he told people, but
where's Joe? I don't know.
Dave went out to Best Buy. Now, Dave and
then
Jess,
he left the state.
They came with the shop. They were what they called Scrubs, and Butch can, if we ever get Butch down, he'll explain the story of Scrubs, how they came to be. But essentially, they were kind of like the teenage fan club later on. Just kids that came around, they hung around the shop. It was a safe place for them to hang out, and we'd get them to work for credit. And when Dave and Jess turned 16, when Jess went with Dan and Brian over to Hot Comics West, and Dave stuck with us because he was right across the street. And we actually hired him as an honest-to-gosh employee, where we give him a paycheck and all that fun stuff.
Wait, a paycheck? Wait, people who work there got a paycheck?
No,
you never told me about that.
A lot of things I didn't tell you about. The third paragraph.
I just worked for Rat Bastard Root Beer.
Which is even more hot changes. In August and September, Hot Comics Minnetonka and Hot Comics New Hope opened. So now we got a date. Hot Comics Minnetonka was August '94, and New Hope was September '94. The difference
empire is growing.
Is that where Pat and I actually owned Hot Comics, these guys were, what would you call it, a franchise?
Yeah.
Off what Brian and Dan were doing. Actually, I say Brian and Dan, but it was really Brian was the sole owner, and Dan, of course, was the comic book guru. So anyways, it goes on. Hot Comics now has 4 locations. For you, this means that you have access to 4 stores worth of comics, toys, and cards. And the rest of it, I just toot my horn about how great it's to have 4 stores. But to me, it was always a promise unfulfilled, because everybody ran their store, but we never really ran anything together. But the only thing we really did was when we had advertising on Fox cartoons at the time and some news, we were able to, we had 4 locations, and then you tout each location 2 per commercial. But we never got the gel, like you talk about, like Schindler's had 13 stores, 14?
13 at their peak.
And they just had a humongous discount from Diamond. We never really, I would actually, this is part of the, I'm going to get gas, what I would end up doing. Say, Pitt sold out Hot Comic. So what I do is I go visit the other 3 Hot Comics, and it took most of the day to travel, and see if they had anything they want to trade, but I would go pick up 2 or 3 copies, because they weren't going to give me every Hot Comic that sold out. But I could pick up 2 copies from everything, come back, I'd have 6 on the shelf. So, and for all the traveling I did, I probably also visit Brent Moore's store, Apple Comic, or was that Comic Archives down in Apple Valley? But nobody ever came to visit my store and get stuff. I figured, you got this Yoda statue that's been sitting here gathering dust in your store. Bring it over to my store for a few months. It'll do one of 2 things. Either people will go, hey, where'd the statue go? Oh, well, I can get it back if you want to buy it. Or it'll sell at my shop and you'll have some cash in the bank, But never really worked that way. Let's see, where are we here? Oh, here we go. Win cool comics and stuff. Somewhere I've got a bunch of Polaroids of all the stuff we did. What I did is, for every $10 you spent, you received 1 raffle ticket each month. I would match a ticket to a specialty comic book, and you'd come in with your ticket, and the book is yours. I did it for all my subscribers, and of course I'd also have people that on the other side of town, could you tell me what tickets won? I said, well, no, because you're supposed to come back. So sometimes they'd win, sometimes they wouldn't. I'd refine the contest a little bit later, mostly just for, my guys. And, back then we were getting gold books, platinum books, signed all sorts of stuff. Not like now where I had to buy so much stuff, but it'd be like usually a premium. And then, of course, see if Cory remembers this one. Here's a contest for just you subscribers. In this newsletter, you will find a bumper sticker. If you put it on your car and see it while I'm out driving, you will win a $20 gift certificate.
I do not remember that at all.
Yeah. There was this place that got a hold of me via phone, and what they did is they had really cheap novelty items. That's where I got the magnetic calendar, where I got these ice scrapers that people
I remember the ice scrapers, because my last one broke like about a year or so ago, and I was brokenhearted. I
had the mini Frisbees, and I actually got bumper stickers. So every month I try to get something different from them. I did it with the bumper stickers. Just thought it was something kind of cool. I only think I ever saw 1 or 2 cars that actually had it. And, of course, I didn't say it doesn't count if I see you within 1 block radius or in the parking lot in front of the store. So it was kind of a fun idea. A few people put them on their car. But I think I only gave away a couple gift certificates. Sale, sale, sale. Our annual fall sale will occur right after Thanksgiving, November 25th through December 3rd. The other Hot Comics will have their sale at the same time, but theirs ends Sunday. We like our sales a full week. Back issues will be on sale from 20 to 50% off. Graphic novels, a great Christmas present, 30 to 50. I'll even have a special selection with heavily discounted stuff, some up to 90%. Speaking of Christmas, remember that we do have gift certificates available in any denomination, good at all 4 Hot Comics. So there's a case where we actually did coordinate. If somebody brought a $20 gift certificate to Hot Comics New Hope, she'd bring it over to me, and I'd give her the $20 back. So, and really, if you ever do have a business or whatever, you do have to do gift certificates because they make a wonderful Christmas gift. Now here's the fun part. This is where Cory will love it because I did a market report.
Really?
Yeah. The comic market has also been changing. Remember, I did the hot changes. Not necessarily for the best. Several publishers are gone. Axis, Continuity, Dagger, Defiant, Eclipse, Majestic, Ominous Press, Brute and Babe, in case you remember, Triumphant, and those are just the ones I noticed. Dark Horse, the licensed products Star Wars and Aliens are doing well. Their superhero line, Comics Greatest World, is losing steam. Ghost and X seem to be winners. The Legend line sells great, with Madman, Hellboy, and Sin City being the best. The rest of the Dark Horse line is either hit or miss. People wanted Rascals in Paradise or One Bad Rat, but no one wanted Badger or Grendel. I advise everyone who likes Dark Horse Comics to pick up Dark Horse Insider or Advanced Comics, and be sure to let me know which titles you want. Advanced Comics, of course, being the from Cap City, what we call previews nowadays.
Well, previews existed then, but Advanced Comics was the one from Cap Cities, and then when Cap Cities went under, so did Advanced Comics. However, Cap City would send you a magazine every month, Joe. Do you remember the name of it?
I have a ton of them downstairs because one of these days I'll actually put them on this here eBay's because they're a really interesting part of, the comic history, what's going on.
What was it called?
Oh, IVCC, Internal Correspondence?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then when Cap went away, one of the things when Diamond kind of bought up stuff and kind of paid them not to sue, the owners of Cap City created a website called ICV2 because it was Internal Correspondence version 2. So that's where the ICV2 comes from.
Is that public or is that got to be a retailer to go there?
There's a public portion and then there's a retailer portion. So if you head on over to ICV2, that's where they post the sales numbers every month. They interview comic shop owners. But over time, they have become much more game-focused because gaming makes more money than comics nationwide.
Yep.
So you go where the money is, especially with the resurgence of Dungeons & Dragons and other tabletop games. I actually read a big article in the New York Times about how people are shocked. Dungeons & Dragons is back. But really, it didn't go away. It's just now more and more people are doing it because people are wanting to have social gatherings. And it's, here's a nice way to get together.
I also...
it's become more mainstream because of TV shows like Big Bang Theory and Harmon Quest and other Game of Thrones. People are like, fantasy stuff, cool.
The other thing that's fun with games, too, is that because they have a higher markup, most of the time the retailers are buying them at the same as comics, 50% off whatever the cover price is. However, whereas comics are, $3.99? You sell a Dungeons & Dragon kit for $49.99. So I never, you always wonder, when did games, they're to me they're expensive, but people buy them. Yet comics are too expensive and people don't want to buy them. Because it's a matter of time, how much fun you can have. Whereas D&D you can play over and over and over. Comics for $4, you've got maybe 10, 15 minutes of reading and it's done.
I think it's also the economy of scale in a way. Because comics, most people who read comics now will talk about when they started reading them, they were $1, they were $2. Or, you talk to people our age, they were a quarter, they were 30 cents, they were 50 cents. Whereas even a game like Monopoly's always been like $8, $9. And back when I did war games in the early 80s, like Squad Leader and Panzer Blitz, those were like $20 to $30 games. And the big games like The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich was a $50 game, and you'd go, no way I could afford that. Well, now, board games are still around between $30 and $50 for the for the high-end games. Monopoly's like what, $15, $16?
You can sometimes find it for $10 if you're, looking about.
But a lot of people look at it. It's like magazines. Their magazine sales have dropped off. I remember when I first started reading The New Yorker in the 90s, it was $3. Well, now it's $9 an issue.
Damn.
Make sure. Okay.
All right. I'll skip the Access and Allies thing.
Okay. So what else is in the newsletter?
All right. DC. 0 Hour got DC noticed over summer, but the hype is gone. Winners are New Titans, with the new Green Lantern joining, Starman, Ray, Wonder Woman, and Rebels. The 4 Superman titles are still strong, as are the Batman titles. There are some big losers, though, mostly in the Vertigo and Milestone line. Important subscriber notice. Starting December, the entire Milestone line will be order only. That means I will not have any extras on the shelf. If you want any titles from this line, be sure to put them on your sub-list.
That was such a shame.
Yeah, it just wasn't selling.
I loved the Milestone line.
And they did some good crossovers. It wasn't like people couldn't be aware of the titles. And it's interesting, too, because they're also having problems with the Vertigo line. And, you figure, and some of those titles, like, who even cares about? I mean, Starman was good. That was Robinson doing his fun. Ray, Rebels, I don't think any of those titles really stood the test of time.
No.
Image. All Image titles are down with a few exceptions. Now, this is years before The Walking Dead / we have tons of independent cool books. This was still back in their superhero hype days. All Image titles are down with a few exceptions like Gen 13, Team 7, and all the variant covers. Extreme Studio titles are way down. That was Liefeld's line. As in the Shadowhawk line. Even the Unshakable Spawn line is off, probably due to Todd's poor numbering skills. Taken as a whole, Image still rates as one of the stronger publishers.
And that must have been right after he did the, where he published...
19 and 20 are late, I'm just going to go right to 21.
Yeah, so that he wouldn't have to pay the penalty.
Yep. Cancel, rebook, restore. All the Image titles were late. Even the ones like Savage Dragon that seemed to be on time. But his at least consistently came out. Other ones would just disappear and evaporate. There was a huge, huge Image crunch where people, I should say, it exploded during 93 because people were really into it and people would come and buy titles. Kids would come in and buy the Image line and they didn't care about story. They just wanted to see the art. We had tons of kids coming in. They'd show us the Image art they would do, but when the books stopped coming out, the kids went away and they went on to something else, and that's what killed them. With no new Image books in September, it all started flopping. I mean, obviously they're still around, but this was part of the decline. Let's see. Oh, here's one that probably won't get its own section anymore. Malibu. Of all the publishers, Malibu seems to be the weakest. Rumor abounds that Time Warner or Marvel may buy this company. That would save them. The Bravura line goes fairly well, but the Ultraverse line hasn't grown in sales all summer, but the number of titles has. Late shipping has also damaged several titles, with Prime being the hardest hit. Ultra Force is a big hit, but remember, George Perez is only doing the art through issue number 6.
By the way, I read something in that, Slugfest, Marvel versus DC. Mm-hmm. You know how Marvel said, we bought them for the coloring, bought them for the coloring, bought them for the coloring? No, that's not what happened.
Oh, what did happen?
Time Warner was looking to buy them because Time Warner, that's what DC did. Fawcett will buy them. Carlton will buy them. This will buy them. We'll buy them. They were looking to snatch up Malibu to get those characters. And Marvel's people were like, no, we're not going to let DC keep doing that. They bought them. Almost out of spite.
Yeah. And they shut them down and screwed them over. Speaking of Marvel, even Marvel is down, but not out. Almost every title in Marvel's line sells some copies. X-Men are down, but they're currently in between crossovers. And then I see the next page for what the X-Line will be doing. We'll get to that momentarily. Spider-Man titles are strong, as is Beavis and Butthead. I don't know what that means.
As long as the TV show was on, that comic sold great.
Oh, yeah.
But once that TV show ended, the comic just kind of went away.
Yep.
And it's weird how...
With some of the other ones, like Ren and Stimpy, any of those TV tie-in licensing books.
Well, Ren and Stimpy outlived the cartoon for a while.
That wasn't too hard, considering how slow it took them to come out with new episodes.
But Beavis and Butthead, it was almost like when the TV show went away, the comic disappeared. The first issue, which had been worth a ton of money, all of a sudden worth nothing, and they all went into the quarter bin and were gone.
Valiant. If Acclaim hadn't bought Valiant, I believe they would have been on the list at the beginning of the article. December's orders are half of what they were in September. Time Walker is currently the best-selling title. Other stuff, Heroes Illustrated is way down, Wizard is way up. Strong titles includes Mars Attacks, Zorro, which I believe were from Topps at the time.
Yeah, Don McGregor's Zorro.
Oh, yes, good stuff. Vampirella, She, Lady Death / Evil Ernie, Scud, that's Scud the Disposable Assassin, Hate, and Bone, just to name a few, which are still going.
By the way, Joe, you know the show that everybody's losing their mind over now, the Rick and Morty?
Oh, yeah.
They run by by a man named Dan Harmon, who also did the show Community. He and Rob Schrab are the ones who did Scud.
We could have had him here.
Although we probably wouldn't. I love Dan Harmon's writing, but we wouldn't have wanted him at the convention.
No, they actually.
He's
I think
not a happy person.
They actually, I think, got the con guys to, because they were in Milwaukee. They were like a stone throws away, but they were making weird demands, like, well, we want a limo to drive us here, and the guys were like, no. Yeah,
because they were getting used to that Hollywood treatment. Because Scud, within 4 or 5 issues, Scud, the movie people were sniffing around wanting it.
Oh yeah, if you can find copies of it, it was a fun read. But if they're making TV money, they'll never come back to this character again.
Well, they finish up the story.
Here you go, Cory. The top 15 titles according to Hot Comics, St. Paul. Guess what number 1 is?
X-Men.
Very good. Number 2.
Uncanny X-Men.
Very good. Number 3.
Batman.
He's on the list. Number 3 is Spawn.
Oh, okay.
Still hot then. Number 4, Advanced Comics.
Yeah.
Number 5, All Superman, which is significant because at the time it was 4 titles. Superman, Action, Man of Steel, and Adventures of.
Think about that. At your shop, it was out Superman. Just people who I want all the Superman books. Outselling Spider-Man, outselling Batman, outselling everything.
He's coming off the death of, still pretty high. People were still doing. I think it was
2 years later. It was 2 years after the death of Superman.
Hippie Superman still was around. Number 6, Wolverine. Number 7, Generation X. Number 8, X-Force. Number 9, Detective. Number 10, X-Factor. Number 11, Batman.
Wait, Detective outsold Batman?
Yep. Now realize this could be maybe one person is buying Detective because the storylines were going through each other.
Yeah.
But you had that all the time. There were some people didn't want Man of Steel because they didn't like the artwork on it. Even though it was like, to me, it was like you're skipping the 3rd chapter of an ongoing story. Nope. Don't like the art. Whatever. Number 12, Batman. I'm sorry. Number 11 was Batman. Number 12, Wildcats. Number 13, Batman's Shadow of the Bat. Number 14, Cable. And number 15, Cyberforce. That was one of the cool things about the program that I used. It spit out the top 15, which was always fun to look at. All right. So is a comics doomsday here? Heck no. There are all sorts of exciting stuff coming up in the next couple months. And I only covered 2 in this one, but November, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Don't laugh. The kids love it. Some of these titles you can laugh at.
I remember that first issue sold really, really well.
Oh, yeah. It's in quarter boxes even as we speak. Shaman's Tears from Image, where it began, say 2 years ago. Sales of Suspense from Marvel in the same format as the popular Marvels from last year. That was Marvels being the Kurt Busiek,
Alex
Ross thing. So they were doing the big square-bound thing, trying to get people involved. We've talked about this title in the past. Steve Bissett's Tyrant. Love dinosaurs? Steve is
that book so much.
Covering the life of Tyrannosaurus Rex from birth to death. He's going to make it as accurate as possible. This self-published work is awesome. I still have number 1s with number 2 due in November. Visitor versus Valiant Universe, 2 issues leading into Visitor number 1 in December. I should have put this one on the beginning of the list, but we were excited. The launch of Techno Comics.
They had a store at the Mall of America.
This comic boasts a lot of big names that are creating characters for them. Keyword creating, not writing.
Not
creating.
Working for them, but yeah.
Leonard Nimoy created Primordials. Neil Gaiman did Mr. Hero. Gene Roddenberry has done Lost Universe. The first 2 are out in November, the last one in December. Techno Comics is letting me order heavy on the first 3 issues with the promise I can return unsold copies. What that means is that you don't have to worry about me selling out, at least not right away. Give number 1s a try, and if you like them, put them on your list. In December, Star Wars Dark Empire 2 from Dark Horse, 6 issues. Remember the first series? Have you seen the prices on them? I mean, you're talking they were like $50 books, number 1 and 2.
And they really, that and the Thrawn trilogy of novels is kind of what brought Star Wars back from the dead.
Yes, and kept Dark Horse definitely rolling.
Yeah.
Why Star Wars saved comic companies? Last time Star Wars fans found out about it after it was published. This time they'll know. It's not to be missed. In December, Azrael number 1 from DC. Will he have his act together this time?
No.
The big thing was Azrael was coming off the whole thing where Bane broke Batman's back and Azrael took his place, and people were all verklempt because suddenly Batman was being a real dirtbag, and so it kind of flowed from it.
Although that comic lasted 100 issues.
Yeah, it lasted for a while. Angela from Image. Spawn fans, take note. In the tradition of the Violator miniseries, this one will cover Angela and her exploits in heaven. Sandman fans, take note. Neil Gaiman's writing it. So back then, we were excited about her being around. Gen 13 trade paperback. Missed the miniseries? Here's your chance to read it and or look at the art. Crew number 1. Image lost, so now they will publish the misadventures of this wanderer. Fun stuff. The joke being that anybody who published Crew went out of business.
And that was actually the line that Evanier used.
Oh, yeah. See, Rogue number 1 from Marvel. 4 issues. Hot, hot, hot. What's going on with the X-Men? Cory's, you'll probably remember this. Professor X is dead, but he died over 30 years ago. Therefore, he never formed the X-Men. The X-line will change into a vision of what it would be like without Professor X, starting with X-Men Alpha, the one-shot special. Every X Comics will be retitled, starting with number 1. The changes will be as below. Uncanny X-Men will become The Mutants, the Astonishing X-Men. X-Force will be Gambit and the Externals. X-Factor becomes Factor X. X-Men changes into The Mutants, the Amazing X-Men. Generation X will be Generation X. Wolverine becomes Weapon X. Cable, X-Man. Excalibur, letter X hyphen Caliber. X-Men Unlimited will be X-Men Chronicles. If you subscribe to X-Men, you will get pulled the Mutants, the Astonishing X-Men. If you get Cable, you will get X-Men, and so on and so on. If you want X-Men, put it on your list. If you want Astonishing X-Men, put X-Men on your list. Remember, these books do not come out till January, so if you only want the change books, put that down. If you want the whole thing, put down The Age of Apocalypse. Not that that'll come back again.
This was the thing that finally got me to drop the X-Men.
I remember selling the schnot.
Oh, yeah. They went nuts, but for me, it's like, I have not enjoyed this book for almost 4 years. I'm done. I'm tapping out. This is a good endpoint. So even though it was a jumping on point for people and it's been reprinted and gone back to, every time that you do a big event, you're giving people that, this might be a good place to stop.
Secret Empire. January. Edgar Rice Burroughs. Now we're actually into 1995. Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan, The Lost Adventures from Dark Horse, 6 issues. This is based on an unpublished script that the Burroughs left in a vault. Power of Shazam from DC, finally, after 4 years on an ongoing series. This will be great. Try this. Of course, Pete Krause, our good friend, was doing it. Jonah Hex, Riders of the Worm and Such from DC, 5 issues. Star Trek Voyager from Malibu, based on the TV show, 2 issues. Malibu had the Star Trek license and was really doing well with it. Let's see. As always, anything that's in italics can be added to your pull list. If you have any questions, be sure to give me a call. Our voicemail's on 24 hours a day. So if you have the urge to change your list at 3 a.m., I can help you. You can also leave jokes, both dirty and clean. Hot Comics' own Dan Wiesemeyer was busy doing Wildcat stuff. Dan penciled Wildcat Adventures #3 due in December. He also is doing a 2-page pinup in the Wildcat sourcebook due in January. He's also been asked to do a chase card in the upcoming Wildcats Adventure card set due out in February. And if you haven't noticed, there's going to be a number of promo posters for various, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 video game promotional posters where they do like Avengers and Tales of Asgard, Incredible Hulk. Our good buddy Dan Wiesemeyer did those. He's doing the artwork on this stuff. The Marvel
they are
comic,
based on classic Marvel covers.
Yep. So he's and these are just promos that are be given away, that were given away or will be given away at San Diego and New York City. Dan's basically is still cranking away. He found an awesome niche doing Lego artwork for the video games. You know, he'll probably never do a comic again because there's serious money in commercial art like that. The final couple paragraphs of the newsletter. Now that Hot Comics has 4 stores, you can have merchandise transferred between stores easily. Simply call any Hot Comics store. If they have the merchandise, they will take your name, number, and send it over. Tell them you're a subscriber. When the stuff gets here, I will put it in your poll slot. I can also call them, especially if you're looking for new comics that I've sold out on. Then I put the numbers below. There were 4 at the time: Hot Comics St. Paul, Hot Comics Edina, Hot Comics Minnetonka, and New Hope. And, of course, of the 2, New Hope is still, well, it's not its original store, but it moved to a bigger area. And then, of course, Minnetonka closed. St. Paul, we've talked about. And Edina moved to Richfield and now is in, no, they went to Southtown, and now they're in Richfield. So 2 of the Hot Comics are around. My famous last words. Well, I hope you like this letter, especially for those whom this is their first. This is your newsletter. I encourage you to submit pictures, drawings, writings, columns, articles, or $2 bills. I will try to use as much as possible because without you, the subscriber Hot Comics St. Paul would cease to be. Boy, was that prophetic. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or talk to me when I'm in the store. With Dave leaving October 30th, I'll be here all weekend as well as most of Thursday. I always like to hear what I'm doing right, but I'm more interested in what I'm doing wrong. For with this information, I can improve the store. Without Pat, now I have no one else to blame. Next newsletter should be out in the second week of December. Meantime, keep reading. And, of course, this was the crazy part where I actually ran the store all by myself. It wasn't too bad because I was thinking, okay, I got Thanksgiving off, I got Christmas off, I got New Year's off. But as time went into 95, I began to get cagey just doing it because I didn't have any time off. Pat would come in occasionally, and eventually this led, I believe, into hiring Mike. Big Mike. And I tell you, when I finally get a microphone that works with my computer, because, you know, my beautiful Yeti Blue doesn't work with Windows 10 still, I'm going to get that Solo Joe cranked up, and me and Mike are going to sit down and talk about let's call them the Mike years, the big Mike years. And, of course, if I can figure out where little Mike is, I'll talk to him, too. So that there is the Hot Comics and a little glimpse into the comic market, November 1994.
I eventually wrote a column for that newsletter, if I remember right.
You did. I'll have to find it because, you know me, I don't throw – I know I didn't throw any of these away. It's just a matter of finding them. Every so often, like with this, I had a batch of like 10 of these things. And I'm like, well, I'll keep one, but I'll just recycle the other ones because, you know, that's what a good boy does with scrap paper. And, you know, we talk about how we got news out. I mean, eventually I bought the big, humongous, what is it, dry erase board where we would write what's coming out. In addition to the big one we had that these are the books that came out this week. And then I had that 24-hour news line going when we had the little warehouse in back where the original Hot Comics was formed. I bought one of those AT&T 5500 phone machines where I could leave a message and you couldn't leave a message. I could flip the switch, so I would have like a hotline going there. Now, of course, it's easy. I mean, eventually the newsletter disappeared because I would do a weekly
email.
Yeah. And I did that, too, when I sold the shop to Christy. I did it for Christy, and then when I opened up Crazy Comics, I continued that. I know when Kristen sold her shop, I did the newsletter. I said, guys, here's the newsletter from us. If you don't want it, let me know, and I'll take you off the list. You're only going to get this once. And, oh, man, you got a lot. What are you sending me this for? Blah, 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 blah. I said, well, you obviously didn't read it, did you putz head? But I had to be nice because they were Hot Comics subscribers. And, of course, I wish I still saved a copy of those newsletters because when I wasn't, you notice I was pretty kind to a lot of the books here, even the ones that probably didn't deserve it. Because when I was selling it, I always realized, okay, this book is somebody's favorite. I don't want to be bad-mouthing the book. Because, I mean, if somebody bad-mouths your favorite comic, especially if it's the owner of the story, you might be like, I'll go somewhere else. But when I wasn't selling them, I got to be a little snarky. I blame David Watkins for that, because he always had that comics where he'd, like, give a one-word review, fat, crap, everlast. This one I like.
Now, you've done a long, probably the longest ever Tales from the Shop. I have it hanging at the home.
Oh, fun. I'll sit back and take a glass of water.
There was a time when I worked at the group home in Victoria, the Juvenile Justice Group Home, when Scott Nutter was my boss. And Joe has met Scott Nutter. Nutter is a power lifter. I did a solo podcast with him. He left that field and is now working in the same field that I work at part-time with developmentally disabled adults, but he also does a lot of work with putting on powerlifting meets that raise money for kids with cancer. But there was a period where there was this house that was available, and the group home actually paid people to move that house next to the group home so that Scott could live right across the parking lot from the group home. And Joe and I would go over there to watch wrestling pay-per-views.
ECW.
And there was, after he'd lived there for a few months, I was over for a wrestling pay-per-view, and he was so proud of the fact that he had a phone installed next to the toilet. This was in the 90s when, to cell phones, only assholes had cell phones. But he had a phone installed in the bathroom. And when I saw it, I said, Scott, don't ever call me from that phone. Ever, for any reason. What do you mean? I don't want to talk to you when you are taking one of your long, endless dumps. I don't talk to people when they're on the toilet. Don't call me. About 2 months later, because what he would do on on Fridays, they couldn't get people to do the awake overnight, so he would try to trick me into it. But every once in a while, he'd kind of be nice and let me know ahead of time. But he'd also call.
It's a good thing that never happens nowadays.
Yeah, it never happens now.
Never happens.
But he would also call and try and twist my arm and get me to work extra shifts. And we all know I won't ever work an extra shift.
Never.
But there was one time I was home watching TV or something, and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and hello, and it was Scott, and he was asking me to work an extra shift, and it had that echo.
Echo.
You know the echo.
The echo.
And I said, Scott, are you calling me from the bathroom? He said, no. I said, Scott, don't lie to me. You're calling me from the bathroom, aren't you? Yeah, I'm calling you from the bathroom. And I just hung up, put the phone down. To this day, there is nothing I hate more, because my full-time job, I answer phones. And I will actually message my supervisor and let them know this person is calling me from the bathroom and they just flushed the toilet. Please, can I please hang up on them, please? And they won't let me, but still. I hate people who call from the bathroom, especially if you hear the toilet flush and then you don't hear water. But speakerphones. If you call me on a speakerphone at work, I can't hang up on you in my personal life. If you call me on a speakerphone, I will hang up on you immediately. Because a speakerphone, everybody sounds like this when they're talking to you on a speakerphone.
So write that down, folks. If you call Cory on the speakerphone, he'll hang up on you immediately. Immediate. L-Y.
You know who won't hang up on you no matter what?
Would that be these guys, our sponsors?
Why, yes, it would. That's right. Here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right. Your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, K-R-A-Y-Z, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You can get them weekly. You can get them bi-weekly. You can get them monthly. You just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that will record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks.
And you say I never learn new tricks.
And after we did that, we talk a little about what's coming up in the Solitaire Rose Network. That's right, it's a network, Joe.
It is.
A network of podcasts. We've got podcasts coming up. It's only been Crazy Comics and Stories for the past few weeks because work's been a little nuts, and I've had to do some stuff that I'd rather not do, and I have not had my podcasting time.
Nope.
But all that is about to change.
Your world is... Oh, my God, Glacier's coming? You did say it was going to snow.
By the way, Joe, you've gotten me off track.
That's my job.
On Ring of Honor a few weeks ago, they had a Ring of Honor battle royal. They had a Ring of Honor battle royal, but it was really a Royal Rumble because it was two people start, and then every minute somebody would come in, and they were doing it at the. Gosh, I forget the name of the place. It was in Atlanta, and I think it's called the Main Stage or whatever, where they used to film WCW Saturday Night. So they're doing it, and then all of a sudden, snow starts falling from the top, and Glacier came out.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And he came out, and the play-by-play guy said, "Look, it's Glacier. Our world is about to change."
I was going to tell you to go look outside because the radar says it's snowing over your house, but I'm looking out mine, and I don't see no snow.
My world is about to change. But we've got stuff coming up. We've got a new episode of Novelcast on Friday.
Fun.
Believe it or not, and I know Derek Coward doesn't believe it, but there will be. There will be a new episode of Series in Review where I do a new review of EC Comics. I know it's been like 3 years since I did the last one, but I've got my notes ready, going to be jumping back into the EC Comics, and you and I need to get together soon to do the next 10 issues of Master Kung Fu, don't we?
I don't know if I want to open my omnibus. They look so cool when they're sitting there all sealed.
Let's see. Dan and I are going to sit down and record a new episode of the Bad Advice.
And please don't take the advice.
Well, it's bad advice. It's bad advice. We tell you right up front. It's bad advice. And then Dave and Stephanie, they're doing their thing. They're up to like over 30 podcasts that they've released.
Oh, yeah. They're still cruising around the country. It's kind of cool to see where they're ending up.
And I've got some interviews lined up that I'm a little excited about. I will talk more about it when the dates are settled. But it's people who have not been interviewed for comic book podcasts before.
Oh. And just so you know, that we do appreciate feedback, such as one of our listeners, he calls himself Mosaic Chong, a pseudonym if I've ever heard it. He says, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you and Cory doing the podcast. It's certainly something I get lots of enjoyment from. Thanks for doing it. Well, thanks for thanking us.
Thank you for thanking us. Thanking you for thanking...
Don't think we don't appreciate it.
I'm lost.
Me too.
Okay. But that's what's coming up on the Solitaire Rose Network. Going to be a busy close to the year. And we, as this episode drops, we are 2 days away from NaNoWriMo. So all hell's going to break loose.
Yep. We were going to put Cory's feet to the fire and get a count every week.
And I've got the novel in my head. For those of you who are fans of the Reverend Horton Heat, the inspiration for this novel was the song Bales of Cocaine. So go listen to that song. And now it's time to ask Joe. Hey, Joe. Are you going to go out and build a snowman?
Yes. Oh, what?
No. It's Joe. What's going on the eBays?
Too late.
Too late?
Yep.
Show's over?
Nope, I put them up and they sold.
Oh.
Remember we talked about you and me going to Dreamhaven and actually seeing Neil Gaiman back when you could actually see him and talk with him and not have 5,000 people behind you. We lucked out because at the time I think Sandman, this was 1990. Oh, I think 1990. This was before Hot Comics.
Wow.
Because I only got Sandman up to Sandman 16 signed. And,
slacker.
Well, I kept a few, but I put the ones I'd had online to sell. And I don't have a certificate of authenticity, but somebody I'd no sooner put one up than it sold. And I put a second one up. And it cha-ching, and I was like, holy cow. And the guy called me and said, well, how many more do you got up? And I said, well, I should have all of them up in about a couple minutes. I had 12 issues that he had signed. And he asked, well, how did that happen? I mean, I didn't think Neil did signings anymore. I said, well, and we actually went to a signing. It had to have been later. But I'd have to look it up to see for sure. And back then, you could actually sit and talk with Neil. And, he signed as much as you brought. He was very gracious. He'd put little extra drawings on it. Sometimes with my Sandman collection, he asked, should I personalize them? I said, just randomly mix them in. And the personalized ones, for the most part, I kept. The ones that he didn't personalize, I sold. But everything sold. I think the only one left on the eBays is number 3, where he writes Sweet Dreams and put his signature on it. So I can't talk about that. I can talk about 2 other interesting things I put on. And one of it ties in kind of to the what we were talking about, the Return of Superman. I don't know what they call these things. They're like the little metal fold-it buttons. They're not pins, but you like put them on your flap and you fold them over. And then they're just supposed
pinbacks.
Pinbacks. Okay. Well, I actually had a set that were never used for Superman. The Return of Superman. One says, I saw the Man of Steel, I saw the Kryptonian, I saw the Kid, I saw the Cyborg. They were just given to comic shops, and you gave them away as freebies. Well, for some reason, I hung on to one. We're talking, this is what, 1993 when these things came out? And I still got an unfolded set, and there ain't any on eBay. There is now. Cory, do you remember the book Wolf and Bird? I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Wolf and Bird, Counselors at Law?
Yes.
Counselors of the Macabre. Oops.
Yes, I do remember that. It was a fun book.
Yeah, Batten Lash, I believe, was the creator. And it was kind of, I'll go to our good friends at AtomicAvenue.com. Who can swamp creatures, vampires, and ghouls turn to for legal help, even when spells and potions can't make the lawsuits go away? Leave it to the intrepid legal team of Wolf and Bird to fight for monsters' rights in courts. Clever title transposes classic tales and characters of supernatural into the context of our current litigious world. And this is back in 1994. Good sense of humor. It was kind of a light, especially when you have a light, sensitive demon complaining about being left in the dark on his legal case. There was a series, I don't know if they were self-published or they came out, what was it, Claypool Comics did them?
Yeah.
And let's see, there were 23 issues of the original, and then it went on to continue under Supernatural Law. And I don't think anything's come lately. I'm looking here, see if I can figure the last time this was published. They did a one-shot in 2005, but if you're looking for something fun, go check this series out. I mention it because at one of the retailer shows that Cap City did, I actually have a 8 by 5 inch yellow legal pad that has their logo on the bottom, Wolf and Bird, Counselor of the Macabre. And I used a few pages, obviously, because what the hell did I know? I'd be selling on the eBays all them years later. But I have what's left on the eBay, so if you're interested in either of those two unique collectibles, check it out, KRAYZ. Tell me you listen to the show, and I'll toss in some extra fun stuff. Could be a copy of Worldwide News. Mint, never autographed by the slobs that did it. Or it could be something else cool from my accumulation of stuff.
Well, and now that Joe's done with dealing with what's on the eBay, we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I just let Joe talk and I run outside and drink sarsaparilla.
Oh, sarsaparilla.
It's Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking about?
Well, we're on week 3 of No Art from Pat Broderick, so I did what you suggested. I sent a nicely worded letter saying when could I get the ETD on this, and I got nothing. And of course, as I say it, I don't know if he realizes I do see that he sees what I wrote, and the last time he saw it was way back October 20th. So I did talk to one of my other friends who's a comic artist, and he suggested, well, maybe contact him on a Tuesday, because a lot of times you're contacting him on a Thursday, Friday. He's probably busy getting ready to go to a show, and then you try getting him on Monday, and he's just gotten back. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, in all honesty, I think I'm beginning to get the feeling I'm going to get stiffed on this one. I hope not. I mean, how many times have we talked about being a comic professional and, filling your commitments and if you got patronage, doing your art and, doing what you said you're going to do? I mean, I'm beginning to feel like an editor in Marvel in the 70s here. Well, and again, I'm only out 200, but my buddy Pat drops 600 for commission art. So I doubt Pat's listening to this, but if any of you know Pat personally, just knock on the door and say, hey, Joe would like his artwork. So anyways, Halloween, I'll send him another note. We'll see what happens with the next podcast. I've given up. I threw in the towel. I finally decided to do the FLMA, which is Family Leave Medical Act, because of the flare-ups I get during cold season. It could be why I'm kind of achy today. And of course, at my job, they're so lovingly understanding anytime I take any sick time that they no, Joe, you don't need to go on that. We'd never think of writing you up or restricting your leave or making you get a doctor's note or anything like that, or even firing you just because you took sick time, which is part of your overall compensation that you get. And if you don't use it when you retire, you lose it, which is why tons of government employees use all their sick time before they retire. Or in the case of the state of Minnesota, they don't use any of it and get big six-figure checks for what they never use, and people are aghast for it. No, Joel, you would never happen. Yeah, right. I'm already getting flack. They're saying, well, I don't know if they're going to be able to approve what you wrote. And I'm like, well, it's the truth. I mean, every year we have to do these courses where they talk about, know that some people have hidden disabilities. You know, could be mental, it could be physical, it could be, in my case, autoimmune, both diabetes and even in your case, Cory, I mean, people don't look at you and say, whoa, there's an anxious son of a bitch. You know, it just doesn't work that way. But, I explained to them, it's like, I have no idea when these are going to happen. I went all summer and didn't have an attack. Twice in September I was down where I missed a full day of work because I just couldn't get moving. You know, getting up every day is always a chore with me. I mean, first of all, I don't want to. Second of all, it's like, go find yourself that rusty, creaky door, and that's pretty much my joints. But as I get moving, I loosen up. I take a little caffeine. My caffeine choice is Diet Mountain Dew. Took a long time to get used to the taste. That's all that I'm with. I'll take a hot shower. If I get out and I can't move, then I usually contemplate taking a sick day. You know, I'm in baggage now. It's not as acute as being on checkpoint where there's, you got to really be on your toes. But, it's just, I don't know. It's supposed to be just a no headache thing, but they're like, well, if we just give you this, it could be 6 months that you could be out. And I said, yeah, right. That's really going to happen. Maybe I'll get hit by a car tomorrow. I don't know. But, so just, it's supposed to, I hate doing it because in my mind it's just like a red flag, like, oh, look at this, rider's taking FLMA, he must be a lazy son of a bitch, keep an eye on his sick time. And, the group I work for isn't necessarily the best at following the letter of the law when it comes to this, but we'll see what happens. So hopefully, when you and I want to go see Weird Al Yankovic next spring, I can just take an FLMA day and go show you guys. That's pretty much what I'm freaking on. Cory, what are you freaking on?
My Saturday's ruined.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Well, let's geek on Sunday then.
Saturday I had training for the group home, the annual training where, we go over stuff and we learn how to do, we don't even call them holds anymore. We learn how to do passive restraints. And it was, I'm going to be there all day. It's going to be from like 9 in the morning till 6 at night. And I'll be exhausted and then come home and Saturday's ruined. And then they moved it from way up in Coon Rapids over to here, to Victoria. So it's, good, it's not an hour and a half drive. That's what I did. And then it's, and by the way, because it's all refresher, it's only going to be 4 hours. Oh, cool. Well, while I was on my driving trip, my car was losing coolant. So I took it up to the handy-dandy auto repair place that had fixed the thermostat in the car, because the thermostat is connected to the coolant, and I have for, 1 year and 12,000 miles, they'll fix anything that has to do with that. And I took it in, they looked it over, and they said, all right, we can't find anything easy to fix. It's either going to be you need a new water pump or you need a new head gasket. Either one of those would be a $2,000 job. Well,
dude, I got omnibus to buy. I can't be spending that type of money on a car.
Well, Joe's been on me about, you're spending too much on car repair. I have a number in my head of, okay, this is how much I will spend on repair on the car per year, because it's half of what it would cost to get a new car.
And $2,000 is?
$2,000 would put me way over that one.
Way over.
So I have to go to a car dealer now. I hate going to car dealers because they're all weasels. Sorry if there are any used car dealers or car dealers who listen to the show, but every experience I've had has been a nightmare. They don't put the prices on the cars. You go in and they play the, how much would you want to pay for the car? And I'll say something like, I'll give you $50. Oh, well, that's just crazy talk. Then tell me how much the car is. And then, after you've settled on the price and you've settled on which car, then the game is for, the finance guy. And every other time in the past I've had to do it, it was before you could get your credit score on the internet, so you're just shooting craps, and I'd be hoping that my credit would be good enough that they would actually let me buy a car. But they'd come in, and then they, talk to you for a little bit, and then they leave, and it's a game. It's all a game. So what I did, I know what kind of car I want. I don't need a big car anymore. It's just me. I don't have 2 teenagers living in the house anymore. I don't carry a bunch of stuff around, so I want to go back to a small car. And I went out to one of the dealerships, and I looked at their inventory, and I said, okay, one of these 3 cars. So I clicked on them, and they have a thing where, okay, we'll send you the price, and they sent a price, and it's, okay, I will come in on Saturday, I will test drive these 3 cars, and I'm going to buy one of them. But it's going to be like 4 or 5 hours dealing with buying a fucking car.
See, that's kind of why I ended up going to Saturn, and now I think Mitsubishi bought them out, or is there, because there's no haggle. It's just, This is the price of the car, this is what I want.
I tried to do all of that ahead of time.
Yeah, it can help, but ugh.
But one of the things I like is all of the new cars I looked at, they've all got this fancy-dancy, where it hooks with your phone, and it has, computer this and Bluetooth that, and it's okay, cool. So with the new car, I won't worry as much about the car breaking down, so more road trips. But still, I hate car payments, and I hate car dealers. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Oh, man, let's see, what have I got here? Well, I was bad-mouthing work, but I had a really good day at work my last day. First off, I got, they catch you because, they have no idea where you're working, but they finally caught up to me, and I got my 15-year certificate, I got my 15-year PIN, and I got a 15-year government service PIN. So, and I love bling. So that was kind of a cool thing. And it was fun. They take your picture, make a big deal. The big guys come down and thank you. You know how dismal TSA is with testing with their, they mock explosives and they send tests through the system to see if they get caught. I caught one. Actually, it wasn't me, but there were 2 of us involved. But it's a feather in your cap to be able to find it, and it shows that if you're paying attention, the system does work. So next time you hear somebody, TSA loses 98% of their testing. Ha! I'm in the 2%. We had a really, really busy day, and the boss gave me a compliment. He did actually notice my hard work, and he appreciated it. So I was like, dude, I'm 3 for 3. I got to get the hell out of here because sooner or later something's going to happen. Joe, we're writing you up for taking up too much FLMA. That'll just bring me down. And fortunately, I've got 7 days off. My new RDOs are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So as we talk with this here podcast, I'm my first day off. I'm off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I took Sunday as a vacation day, and then I'm off Thursday, Friday, Saturday. See how excited I am. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday a vacation day, new days off, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's a nice little 7-day off. Kind of a mini bum. I'm just my wife and I are actually going to try to get out of town, but they're doing a mayoral election in St. Paul, Minnesota, and she's being tapped as part of the transition team. I don't know if you ever watched West Wing when they got to the end of it, where everybody was like leaving for other jobs. They were being offered other things. They weren't quite sure they were going to hang around. That means the people that were hanging on were doing more work. And that's kind of like what my wife's going through. There's more work to be done. She's not a political appointee, so she'll still have a job. But every time somebody leaves, it just gets a little tougher. It's just one of those weird things going on. So we weren't able to get away. But that's okay, because Cory and I are hopefully geeking on Sunday. Going to go around, and who knows, maybe Cory will bring his little recorder. We'll get a podcast out of it. Or not. Either way, we'll talk about it. Or
maybe I'll bring my little car around.
Oh, that could be fun. Let's see, what else we got. Oh, Cory, have you ever watched Big Mouth on Netflix?
No, I have not yet.
Big Mouth is an American adult animated sitcom that apparently the first 10 episodes are on Netflix. They just confirmed a second season, and it deals with the young kids growing up. They're kind of in their teenage years in a suburb of New York City. A lot of talk about, let's just say the first episode, Andrew falls under the spell of Randy the Hormone Monster. And they talk a lot about, let's just say the second episode, poor Jessie gets her first period while wearing white pants inside the Statue of Liberty. And, the third, if you're a fan of Family Guy, South Park, this is your type of humor. I laughed my ass off the first 2 episodes. We were watching this at work, which, again, probably not a wise idea, but just hilarious. I watched the first 2 episodes. My wife gamely watched it with me, and she laughed, but she pretty much decided, no, I am never watching this show again. I probably will. Especially number 10. I can't wait till number 10. The Pornscape. Andrew tries to drown his sorrows in a sea of porn, only to become hopelessly addicted. So finally, without me doing all this work for, trying to get my comics in order, what's the first show I start binging on? Big Mouth. Let's see. Other stuff I've been reading. I read the next issue of Dark Knight's Metal. A little confusing what's going on, but the storyline was fun. It kept me going forward. I picked up a copy of Mighty Thor 700, the variant edition. Not sure if I'm going to keep picking it up. They did a really good job of bringing people up to speed, especially if you haven't read Thor before. So if you're looking for a good jumping on point, this could be it. And like I said, I haven't decided. I haven't ordered them, so if I do order them, I will probably have to pick them up, local comic store until I can get my orders going. Of course, and then I won't say what appears on the last page, but by God, who's the artist on this thing? He is channeling his inner Kirby, if I could say.
If it's issue 700, they had a whole bunch of different artists.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
Walt Simonson did a page.
Yeah, it might have been Walt Simonson, because I looked at this and I swear they just reprinted a Kirby page. It was a lot of fun. Picked up Gru's Play of the Gods, which is the latest miniseries from Dark Horse. 4 issues, and of course it deals with Gru bumbling through, and of course the gods watching. And one of the most fun things, of course, is when Sergio Aragones does a page full of people, because you just got to spend a good time looking at all the different things he's drawn. But to have 3 of them right in a row, it's like I probably spent 20 minutes just going over these pages, looking for, okay, this character's doing this, to, okay, they're doing that, to, oh, wow. So Gru is one of the series I did not purge in my great comic, I don't know what the heck I should call it, purging. The Great Comic Purge, the 17 comic purge, which we'll refer to as now. So, but I do have to sit down, especially with the Epic line, and figure out which ones I'm missing. Did I talk about the Extinction Parade last time?
I don't think so.
It's a book. I picked it up. It's by Max Brooks. You probably know him as the best-selling author.
Oh, wait, yes, you did.
Yes. Oh, man, I reread this thing. Oh. This thing could out-dead The Walking Dead. It's just crazy. I haven't seen Volume 2 yet, but I got to go look to see if it's even out. I found this via the free Comic Book Day giveaways that we got over the last couple of years. I picked it up. I should say, as I was going through my purge, I found the freebie they gave me. It was just enough to get me really interested, as was the next book I picked up called The Ballad of Sleeping Beauty. This was from Beckett Comics. You could still find them on the eBays. I don't know if they're still in print because this thing came out in 2005. And it's basically Sleeping Beauty with a Western twist. I can tell as I read this, most of the time when you read a graphic novel, you're like, they did a good job on this because it reads like a graphic novel. This one doesn't, because you can tell where, like, oh, this must have been the last page of the comic book, because then when you get to the next page, it's changed. And it's not jarring, but it's just kind of like, okay, they switch gears, but as you continue to read with it, it was kind of a compelling thing. Again, a free comic book giveaway got me hooked on this one. I was able to find a cheap copy. Another book I talked about in the past, I picked up the first graphic novel of 3 and help me with the pronunciation, Strike Force Morituri. This is a book that was, what the heck did this sucker come out in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the original series. I just never was able to fill all the holes, so I got rid of it in the purge, and I picked up 3 copies when Cory and I went up north a few podcasts ago. And I sat down to read the first one. I was a little apprehensive because, you're reading something from the 80s. But damn, this thing holds together pretty good. The only real concern I have is where, as you're reading it, I think time passes for these guys as it passes in the real world. So when there's a month between issues, there's a month between their lives. But when you're just reading it, it's like, oh, well, they're complaining about this, and you realize, well, they're probably talking about a thing a month ago. And the gist of it, of course, is the savage alien race called the Horde invades Earth, enslaving its people, plundering its resources. They went to Hershey, PA, and took all of our chocolate. Scientists devised a method of fighting back, the Morituri process, which grants enhanced abilities to a select few compatible humans. However, it's fatal within a year. And, of course, that's pretty much what starts it. I believe, this goes through three novels, the entire series. It's not an expensive series to pick up. And I got to admit, there are scenes in here that actually gave me the chills. And I'm trying to fast forward to one where it's like when the Horde decide to strike back, everybody's outside and they're like, hey, what the hell do they call it? Something's happening. And they look up and they see what looks like meteorites coming. No, what they did is the Horde took the humans they had and threw them into the atmosphere as kind of a sign to the people below, to not mess with us. And I was like, what a horrific thing to do. I mean, if you're going to make a bad guy there, I can't think of a worse thing to do than just, and they kidnap kids, they kidnap women, children, they do gross experiments on them. I mean, the Horde is basically, they did a good job of getting the Horde up to bad guy. They call it a high dive. It's the streaks of unshielded human bodies pushed out of airlocks, burning up on re-entry. I was like, wow, just a chilling thing for me. And this is I can't even tell, was this book a code-approved book when it came out?
I don't believe it was.
I don't think, it doesn't read like one. I think it was
direct sales only.
Well, there's a code on that first issue.
Oh.
But I have to look at the titles because, man, there's some things in here that issue 10, they still have it. So they were getting away with quite a bit. But some of the stuff I read, I was like, wow, this can't be code. I finished up a book called Minnesota's Golden Age of Wrestling, From Vern Gagne to the Road Warriors. AWA stuff, I gabbed about this previous podcast, but I finally finished it up to the inglorious end. And a good book. It follows the storylines of the wrestlers who fought what. As they got to the part where I was involved, and I believe we're talking, was it 80s? Or maybe 81, I think, when I first started watching pro wrestling. And it was about time when Vern Gagne retired and the championship committee gave the belt to Bockwinkel and everybody was astounded and blah, blah, blah. So it brought back a lot of memories of going down to the Civic Center watching wrestling. A lot of things they bleeped over that I thought, wow, you didn't cover that? That was kind of significant. But it was a different age back then because every wrestler had a storyline. If you were on the card, you had a storyline going with you. It could be, I don't like this person, or it could be Buck Zumhoff mad because Bobby Heenan smashed his boombox that was the size of a pickup truck. But if you're an AWA fan, it's worth reading. I've also finished the latest Bloom County compilation, Brand Spanking New Day. This is published from IDW, and this is Berkeley's stuff that he's doing online. So no editors, no censorship, no deadlines. It's not daily. It smacks of, you have to remember current events that were going on because the storylines will suddenly change and they'll be referring to something. You'll have to go, oh yeah, that's when such and such tweeted something stupid. That's what he's reacting to. There's no footnotes talking about it. But again, these are things that came out in the last couple years, so hopefully you guys remember it. Still waiting through Sabrina the Teenage Witch complete collection. Cory, have you got this? Have you read this?
I do have it. I've only read parts of it.
I've been reading it as it goes through, and I found it kind of interesting because when Sabrina first came out, the first couple stories were her against her witch rival, and usually it was over a boy. And, of course, they had to make it secret. Then in the 60s, it was everybody knew Sabrina was a witch. She was cool. They were down with it. They had her do magic, and magic usually backfired on her. But it was kind of a shocking little bit to me because I'm used to reading the later years where Sabrina was a witch, but she had to hide it. It wasn't a public thing. And, of course, whatever she tried to do would go back. They really didn't publish a lot of Sabrina up until the 70s when she got her own story. I mean, she was in More Fun Comics. There's even reprinting some of the things, Archie's TV Laugh Out, because she was in there. They even reprint some of the things where she was just on the cover but had nothing to do with the inside. And I remember some of that because when I used to read the comics back then, the pre-C, I loved Sabrina. And I was, she's on the cover, and I buy the comic, and she was nowhere on the inside. And eventually, I think in, was it 71, she got her own title. And I'm trying to find the title of it, but they do a great job. Everything's sequential. At the beginning, they do from Sabrina the Teenage Witch #1, April 1971. So I'm wading through it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how far they go. I think, let's see if I can find it. I think 72. So hopefully it sold well, and we'll see some other ones. But it is kind of interesting to see the evolution of the character, and more importantly, how they just didn't use her that much, up until 71, and she was on the TV show. And they actually talk about it. The editor-in-chief, Victor Gorlick, talk a bit about why she suddenly showed up all the time. That's pretty much it for me. Cory, what are you geeking on? What's got you going?
Well, the first thing is last week I listened to you talk about buying the DC 1 million on eBay.
The eBays, yeah.
So I looked on Amazon, and they were all selling for like $60 and $70. So I popped on over to eBay, and there was one for $30.
Nice.
So I ordered that. And also, I'm getting ready for my winter reading, so I looked, and it's like, the original 12 Conan novels that were always around in the 70s and stuff, I've gone back and bought the Lancer printings, which had the original Frazetta covers. And I was looking, and it's like, I've never bought the first one. Went out to Amazon, and again, it was $15, $16 for that book. Go over to the eBay, there's somebody selling it for $3.99. Ordered that. Now, I never check my eBay messages because I order from eBay very, very, very rarely. So as I'm putting in the information and I click my PayPal and I look, and it's like, why would they? I've never sent anything to Spring Lake, Minnesota. And I look, and the omnibus was also sent there. And then I look at my eBay messages, and there's been suspicious activity on your account. So, that's why I had to change my password. Somebody went in, and I looked, and no one had ordered anything. They just changed my address.
Weird.
But I had already put in my orders. So I had to message both of the sellers and say, hey, this is my real address. Something happened. I don't know why this address was in there. And on the omnibus, he had sent me a notification that it had been mailed. So I was thinking, I'm probably out of luck. But the Conan book, I had just ordered it. That's when I noticed the address thing. Well, the guy with Conan book emailed me within minutes, saying, not a problem, I'm putting it in the mail later today. I'll use this address. I got that book the next day.
Cool.
The omnibus, the guy got back to me, and first he said, you need to change your address so that you can put in, some sort of eBay, complaint, et cetera, et cetera. I said, oh, okay. Just wanted to let you know in case it comes back. Send it out to this new address. Otherwise, Then he emailed me and said, I realized I had not sent your omnibus yet, so I'm sending it to the address you gave.
Cool.
So you told me you mailed it, but really you hadn't. Okay, that's great. It works out for me. Because normally I'd be, how dare you? But I have not had a lot of time because we're in open enrollment, but on Marvel Unlimited, they have made me very happy and given me stuff to read at bedtime because they just added 30 new issues of the Strange Tales comic from the 50s. The last of the few pre-code books and then a bunch after the code. So I've been reading a bunch of Atlas Strange Tales, including what looks like some unbelievably early Ditko stuff from 1954 and 1955. And it wasn't in the cleaner 60s style that we remember, but I was reading a story and it's like, man, there's a lot of cross-hatching, a lot of shadows and stuff, but those hands look like Ditko drew them. Because I know Ditko's hands. Look at Spider-Man, look at Doctor Strange. People's hands have a unique look. So I go online and I go to one of the websites that tracks artists, and it's like, oh yeah, that was some real early Ditko. And he didn't sign, he would sign here once in a while, but they would obscure it with this. And it's, oh, okay, so I made it bigger. There's Ditko's signature. I was right. But I know not everybody likes the 50s stuff from Marvel. And one of the problems was a lot of the stuff they reprinted in the 70s. They'd reprint the monster stories, but for the regular horror, they'd reprint some really crappy stuff. But the stuff that is in Strange Tales, it's not literature, but it's a lot better than I thought it would be, and the art is really good, because you've got Russ Heath, you've got Joe Manili, you've got Ditko, you've got early Gene Colan, you've got early John Romita. So it's like, wow, this is some really good comics. So if you got the Marvel Unlimited, head on out and read those Strange Tales. There's a lot of Atlas and Timely out there that even the Masterworks, which have gone out of print, are now, $80, $90, $200. No, it's all free if you're on Marvel Unlimited. So go enjoy that. And looking forward to reading that Thor 700. That should be showing up in my box.
Yay.
I have 5 omnibuses coming in my box, Joe.
Omnibuy. What is the R? What's the R value omnibuses? I mean, you might be able to keep your heating bill down between not being at home and the omnibus will keep, it's got to be high.
Yeah, I know. Well, believe it or not, kids.
Do you want to explain what the R value is for those of our fans living in warm areas?
I don't even know what an R value is.
Oh, that's how you measure how well the insulation insulates, keeps heat in or cold out or whatever. High value, I mean, like concrete that's like 30 feet thick got an excellent R rating. Whereas like
R-rated.
Yeah, exactly. Like Tyvek that they put on the side of your thing from 3M, that's usually pretty good as well. Omnibuy.
Well, believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for almost 2 hours.
Thank you.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
I'm at a loss here because, for a while I did quotes, for a while I did jokes. I don't know what I should do now. I'm going to have to think about it. People, I need your help. What awesome thing should I use to end the show with? Because, I mean, the show starts great with Cory's, welcome back to Crazy Comics and Collectibles. I'm your host, Crazy Comics. But I don't have anything. So we'll come back to this next week. Cory, just hit my music.